Good morning, Gate City Rotary. It's a great day to be a Rotarian. Missed you guys last week. I was hanging out on the beach. If any of you own stock in the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, your portfolio has gone up. Steve Brannon will do our invocation and pledge.
Please bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning as Rotarians. Lord, our mission is to serve. Lord, help us to remember that you came to earth not to be served, but to serve. You are the ultimate example. So let everything we do, everything we say, bring honor and glory to your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Sergeant at Arms, let's see. Richard? All right.
Hey, Bobby, can you give a moment of Rotary?
Ralph, thanks for keeping me in line.
Thanks, Ralph, for reminding me of that. So,
At ease.
yes, the sergeant will maintain order. So, my Rotary moment, I think it was last week someone mentioned serving at Ringing of the Bells. But for me, it definitely was as well. For the last couple of years, I've taken my kids with me and my whole family, and we get out there, and if you've been by there while we've been out there, you know, we sing, and as a group, we're just having a great time. And this year, I brought my guitar and my saxophone, and we were playing, and just really having a great time. And after the first year, actually, about halfway through the year, last year, around this time, it was around July or August, I remember my daughter coming up and saying, "Hey, Dad, are we going to ring the bells again this year?" And so, first of all, that made my heart glad. But while we were out there this year, we were just doing what we're doing, having a great time. And this lady came up and she said, "Oh, you're Rotarians. That's wonderful. I'll be right back." And so she left and went home. And a guy came back. It wasn't her, but a guy came back and said, "My wife just said that she was going to be back. She got tied up, but she wanted me to bring this," and had I don't know how many, but at least a couple $100 bills that was shoving down into the bucket. And apparently, they go around each year trying to find a good Rotarian that's ringing a bell, that is doing what we do and wants to support that group. So my kids thought that was amazing, that not only was someone that generous, instead of just a couple coins, but that they recognized who we were, why we were doing it, and it was because of that they came back and gave so much. So it was a pretty good, cool story for my kids as well.
Now for the real reasons you came, I'll have to say from our visiting Rotarians, we have Mr. Sam Hummel from the Crescent. And fellow Crescent member Gunnar Froman. Mike Wyan from Summit, and he'll have a guest that he'll announce later. Mike. And people in the pipeline, I'm going to have them stand. John Nossick, Tony Rollins, Tom Richardson. I think those are the ones that are proposed members. And Darlene, you have a guest.
This is my bodyguard and son, Sydney Leonard.
Reverend Crabtree.
This is my wife, Sherry, and my daughter, Lindsay.
And Mr. Kevin Barth.
This is my daughter, Camille.
I think that's it.
Thank you, Richard. Announcements. Mike, you want to introduce your guest?
Yes. My guest this morning is Ashley Wiley. She is the Director of Marketing for the Servant Center, which is a nonprofit organization here in town that we're a part of. And she has become a real dynamo in the organization. And I just wanted to let her see the grand poobahs of our community.
Thank you for having me here today. Hopefully I'll be back to share with you a little bit more about the Servant Center and how you all can join our community that cares. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We have a special announcement this morning from Emily Houle.
All right, we probably won't have Nellie there.
Oh, shoot.
But yeah, Nellie probably won't be there, but very excited to announce, and we'll have more detail, hopefully all the details worked out by next week, but our fundraiser is going to be a pre-party and great time and great event before the Florida-Georgia Line concert. So I know many of you may not know who Florida Georgia Line is. I do want to assure you they are hot. They are really, really hot right now. The song I was just playing is the song of the summer. You know, they've just announced their first headline tour. Their tickets in Lexington, Kentucky sold out in 20 minutes. They had to add a second show in New York City. You know, they're going to sell out fast here in Greensboro. So that event or that concert is November 23rd. So it's the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So it's going to be a fabulous time. So we're going to be doing a big pre-party event. We're going to do a beer and barbecue party in the terrace on the Coliseum grounds right next to the Coliseum. You know, going to be selling great packages to that. We're going to have fabulous seats. You know, Scott at the Coliseum has been really generous to us in working on this. So again, we'll be giving you more of the details next week, but very excited. If you don't know who Florida Georgia Line is, ask your teenager, ask some friends. You will find out that this is big, this is hot, and we're going to have a great time with this fundraiser.
Scott at the Coliseum said the song is played on 107.5 KZL 160 times a week. Oh my God. You just listen to 107.5 KZL and I'm sure you'll hear it.
That's awesome. I had no idea who the Avett brothers were either, but now I do, so that's great. One other, all right, real quick, a couple of, Sarah, I've got something for you from the Changing of the Guard.
What?
No, this is
Just kidding.
Interact Club sponsor. This is your award from last year.
You're better late than
And I have one more here. This is for Jonathan Smith. Perfect attendance, 5 years. But I don't know if we can give this to you. You weren't at the Changing of the Guard. We're going to have to take it back.
I wasn't.
I'm kidding. Congratulations.
I was auctioning myself off
Whoa.
to charity to have a lighted Christmas ball party, and the top bidder paid $600 for it.
Birthdays, anniversaries. Kevin.
We have 3. We've got the birthdays. For August 1st was Beth Sheffield. And then on the 3rd is Richard Needham. Anniversaries is also on the 1st is David and Sherry Crabtree.
That's today. Happy anniversary, happy anniversary. Just thought I'd try. Thought we would try.
That wasn't on the agenda.
Burr, he's
Okay.
a jolly. Okay, let's stop there.
My favorite part, Happy Dollars. Buster.
Y'all will be happy to know 2 things. I was made up at Greensboro Rotary, and I saw Robbie Hassel, so that's where he is. If you want to catch up with him, and then that Happy Dollars has actually spread to Greensboro Rotary. It's pretty cool. Wow. They actually had some happy things. It's pretty cool. They stood up. Danny.
Hey, this is kind of a happy dollar, but also a request. If anybody can help me, I need somebody to, I'm going to the beach. Yay. A week and a half or so. And I need if anybody has an opportunity, Project Rebuild's going on again, and we're connected with all the other Rotaries. And I got an email from Gene Brown, and if anybody's available for a 4 o'clock meeting on the 12th, I'll still be at the beach. So I'm excited about going on this Sunday, or maybe Monday, this thing work out.
What is like the nature of this meeting?
And this is Project Rebuild, kind of a pre-planning, and I could use some assistance getting things going. If anybody has done that committee before in the past, and this is if you have a moment, see me after the meeting.
Do we have anybody that wants to do that?
Yeah, Danny, I can do it.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Danny, that'd be easy.
Danny.
That works out really well. Yeah, and the speaker was Cookie Billy's, and of course Dan said she called him Danny. She mentioned him several times during the call. So yeah, called him Danny. It just cracks me up.
I got two. The first goes out to anybody here that's got anybody with Lawndale Swim Association, our swim team. They won my mother's award at City Meet for best overall team sportsmanship, and they won it back to back, and that is voted on by the coaches. So congratulations to Lawndale on that. And then last year, y'all remember that Rosa got most improved 9 and 10. Victoria got it this year.
How was my coach?
She was a state champion at Grimsley, like in 46 or something.
18. I have 2 happy dollars. One is I'm going to be spending the month of August in the mountains of Arizona. It's much different from the valley. You fly into Phoenix, it's 110. 3.5 hours later, it's 75. That's my first happy dollar. My second happy dollar is that this is probably my last happy dollar at this club, because the last time I gave a happy dollar, I made the mistake of watching myself on television. And based on our, thank you, Steve, for showing everybody. But I won't be giving another happy dollar because I don't want to see myself again.
You don't have to watch it.
We can edit you out for $50.
If you
Us having to watch you do happy dollars.
if you're here, you don't need the makeup.
Well, I wasn't going to say this, but Hal was sponsored at that time by Speedo. So, family vacation, we're at the lake, 4 little kids in the water. I think it's time for somebody to get up on water skis or a knee board. 7, 5, 5, and 3. So, you know, if you have to ask them, they don't want, but I put the knee board in the water. I just threw it in the water. You know, just see would somebody get on. The 3-year-old crawls up on it. And she, you know, they're so light at 3 that they can just balance. So I think, well, so I start up the little motorboat, and I give her the handle. I said, sweetie, hold on to the handle. We're going to take the handle over to Daddy. So before she knows it, the motorboat is just going over to her dad in the water. Her dad says, hey, you want to hold on to the rope, and Peeps will take you for a little ride. So I just accelerated, and there she went. For the first time in her life.
32 years today for us. Awesome. Behind every happy man, there's a shocked mother-in-law. So. This is the other 31 years that goes with it.
Mike, did you announce that your organization was #1 in the country?
No, I didn't.
Okay, Mike just got back from KDRF,
and convention, and his organization of went to the Greensboro in this area was the tops in the country, right, Mike? In fundraising out of big cities, small cities. Well, they're fifth in comparison with New York and the big crowds, but per capita, we were the largest in the country. Congratulations. I'm gonna pay for that.
It's okay. But we were just in Washington D.C. and as Sam said, our gala was the top gala in the country per capita, and then for our market share, we had the best income of 99 chapters in the country. So we're pretty proud of that. As you know, I got two great Rotarians working for me, and Marley is one of them, and she is back now from maternity leave. She cried the first week, but she got better the second week. And to get away from that little girl, and Mitzi Ellis. So it's a great group.
Tell her to bring the baby so he can pass her.
Well, we were thinking about doing that.
And this one is for me. There's a lady in our club at Fargo who raises money for charity, and she's always optimistic. And she looked at me when I came in last week, and she said, "Sam, I always knew you were going to look good in stripes."
Okay, so apparently I am the local authority on everything James Galdofino. Do y'all know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
The Sopranos, Tony Soprano. He lost $30 million to the IRS of his $70 million estate. Didn't have to happen. But there's some other good news, good or bad, Sam, I'm not sure. But North Carolina repealed North Carolina estate tax. So.
Grandpappy Lewis, he gave me some advice. He said, the best way to enjoy a fine wine is to open the bottle and let it breathe. And if it isn't breathing, give it mouth to mouth.
That grandpappy is a wise man. David Crabtree will introduce our special speaker this morning.
Special speaker this morning is my daughter Lindsay, and she has always been a surprising kid. Actually, she was a huge surprise to us when we found out she was going to make an appearance. But of my three daughters, of whom I'm intensely proud, she was the last one I would have imagined would do anything international, would do anything really on her own. She's always been a homebody. She's a book lover. She gets that from me, but she's taken it to a ridiculous level. The entire second floor of our house is pretty well groaning under the weight of her books. And so when she gets out of the country, we're going to do something about that. But anyways, Lindsay, when she was 5 years old, was riding along with her mother, and she turned to her one day and she just said, "Mom, I don't know a lot of things, so just start telling me stuff." And so Sherry started by saying, "Well, let's start with the law of gravity." She said, "Oh, I already know about that." And that's been kind of the story of her life. But she got her undergrad degree out of Southeastern University, was looking to go into teaching, but has really found a different, looking to go into teaching here in the U.S., which really found a different path. And so I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about her involvement in the Philippines and what will be happening for her for the next year, possibly 2 years. And so would you welcome my daughter, Lindsay Crabtree.
Good morning. Good morning. I first went to the Philippines in August of last year, and when I was on my way from Manila up to Baguio, where I live, I saw this huge symbol here, huge. And so I immediately snapped a picture, and as soon as I had internet access, I sent it to my dad, and I said, "I've always been told if there are Rotarians in a city, then you know if you're ever in trouble, you know who to go to." So thankful that they are at least nearby to where I am. So like my dad said, I have a bachelor's degree in English from Southeastern. I love to teach. I love anything having to do with literature, English, grammar, writing, it just kind of comes naturally to me. So I always knew I wanted to do something like that. After college, I assumed that I was going to start a career as a university professor in literary theory. That's kind of my field, that's my special interest. I don't know why, but I love it. So I was pretty sure I was going to go on to get my master's degree and doctorate in literary theory and begin teaching the university level. And as it so often happens in life, one thing led to another, just kind of didn't work out, and so through a very brief encounter with a family friend, I was introduced to the idea of teaching English overseas. And I had never wanted to do that. Like my dad said, I'm a homebody. I thought I would, live and die my whole life here in North Carolina. But just through thinking about it and praying about it, I really felt like that was what I needed to do. And so after, a few months, it really all kind of happened very quickly. I ended up on my way to the Philippines, where I lived for 6 months. Teaching English, I was teaching writing classes, grammar classes, and reading comprehension classes. Completely different than anything I thought I would be doing, but I absolutely love it. So I just want to tell you a little bit about how I got there. And actually, your whole motto here is service before self. And when I was here after college, one thing led to another, things weren't working out, and I ended up working in a daycare for a couple years. And I loved the kids, loved taking care of kids, loved playing with them, but it was not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a literary theorist. And so once I got to the Philippines, though, and began teaching there, I realized how egocentric my whole plan had been. I was going to be a literary theorist because that's what I love to do. Once I got there and really saw the need that I was meeting, it really kind of shifted my whole perspective on what I want to do and how I want to be of service to the people that I'm working with there in the Philippines. So when the opportunity came up, I realized, I really want to do something. I don't just want to work. I don't just want to have my own career. I want to do something that is important, something that's going to make a difference. And so I went to the Philippines. So let me tell you first a little bit about where I am. There's a map. You can see Baguio. If you look kind of in the more northern section, thank you. There are 3 major islands. There are actually over 700 islands that comprise the Philippines, but there are 3 major islands that make up the main body. I'm living on the northernmost island. It's called Luzon, and Manila is the capital of the Philippines. It's in Luzon. If you take a 6-hour bus ride through a very twisty, bumpy, dirty road, you will get to Baguio. And where I live in Baguio is called Tip Top, because it is the very top of the mountain there in Baguio. So I was living there for about 6 months, so I really kind of got to see the surrounding area and really learn a little bit more about Baguio and about the country itself. If you can go to the next slide. Baguio is pretty overpopulated. Not as overpopulated as Manila. Manila is a zoo. But Baguio is getting to be more and more overpopulated, and this is really what it looks like in this city. You see the houses that are just literally built into the side of the mountain, almost one on top of the other. But where I live, next slide, this is what my view is every day. I live up in the mountains, gorgeous. The campus where I'm living, this is literally every day I wake up and this is what I see. So this is not what a lot of people think of when they think of the Philippines. I hear a lot of people say, so you're living at the beach or you're living in the jungle. And I'm not, I'm living in the mountains. It's very, very beautiful there. The climate is really nice. It's about 8 degrees on average cooler than Manila. So that is why it is called the summer capital of the Philippines, because when it gets too hot in Manila, all the Manilaites come up to Baguio. Next slide, please. I have just a few interesting facts here about Baguio. Very well. The population is about 318,000 plus, and it's quickly growing. People are moving to Baguio because, like I said, it's cooler, a lot cooler than Manila, But also, a lot of people are coming to Baguio to learn English, because the seminary where I'm teaching is actually the foremost seminary in the Philippines and in Asia Pacific, and we have a strong English program. So a lot of people are coming to Baguio to learn English. It is known as the summer capital, like I said, of the Philippines. It is also known for strawberries. It is known as the City of Pines. It is just a beautiful, wonderful place to live, and it is very mountainous. Even on campus, there's a huge hill that we have to climb every day, so it's not for the faint of heart. Okay, the next slide. These are just a few pictures of Asia Pacific Theological Seminary. This is the school where I live and teach. All the faculty members, all the teachers, the president, the academic dean, business administrator, we are all there basically on a volunteer basis. Nobody is paid at the school. The upper left picture is one of the apartment buildings, because students come from all over the world, especially all over Asia. So everybody lives on campus, all the teachers live on campus. So the upper left picture is a picture of one of the apartment buildings. The upper right picture is, it's a building called GMC. That's where most of our classes are held. And then the bottom picture is an aerial shot of campus. We had a friend with a commercial, or not commercial, but with a private jet, and he went and he hired a photographer to take some pictures from the air of the campus for our promotions. So you can see, it's not very clear, I'm sorry, in this picture, but it's a very diverse climate, and the campus, if you are at the bottom of campus, you have a long, 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 steep climb to the top of campus. So, if you can go to the next slide, please. These are some of the countries that are represented at APTS. These are not all the countries. These are some of the countries that are represented there. APTS is kind of made up of two different schools. There's the English program, which is what I'm teaching in, and then there's actually the seminary, where students can go and get master's degrees and doctorate degrees. They have to pass an English test, all of them, no matter where they come from. They have to pass an English test before they can get into the seminary. Some students come to APTS only to learn English, but the majority are going on into the seminary. So these students are coming from countries where they might have a very basic working knowledge of English, but they're coming to get higher degrees in English, taught completely in English. So the English department there at APTS is very important. As you can see, there are many, many countries that are represented. We have students come from everywhere. We have students come from some sensitive countries, so we even have to be careful, pictures and all of that kind of stuff. But these students are coming to APTS to learn English and to go to the seminary because it is cheaper in the Philippines to get those degrees, and it's kind of a hub for all the people coming from China, Korea, all these places. The Philippines is kind of an easy place to get to. So they come, they learn English, they get their degrees, and then they take that knowledge back to their countries. So through APTS, we are influencing about 30 countries all around the world. So these students are the best and the brightest. They all already have a degree, undergrad degree. They have to meet certain grade standards, which kind of differs depending on the country. They have to pass, like I said, the English test, and they have to uphold their grades while they're in APTS. So it's a pretty tough program, but these students are really very, very bright. So you hear a lot these days about teaching English overseas and about why English learning in different countries is so important. And one of the reasons it's important, of course, is because in any situation being bilingual is a perk. Any job that you're going to work in, any field that you're going to work in, being bilingual is a good thing. You can reach out to more clients, you can connect with other people, you can travel internationally a little bit easier. English is also the language of science and technology. It's the language that a lot of world classics are written in. So for education purposes, it's important. It is the most predominantly spoken language in the world. Now, Mandarin Chinese has the most speakers, but that is pretty much confined to China. Okay, English is the most predominantly spoken. It's spoken in more countries. In the Philippines, it is one of the official languages, along with Filipino, which has about 100 different dialects. But it is, in a lot of countries, you will find people who speak English. You'll read a lot of signs in English, even in the airports. So it is very, very important. The next slide. Also, one interesting thing that I saw is with the increase in outsourcing. A lot of companies are deciding to outsource because it's cheaper and because you can. It's just better financially for the company. English is vital because if you call somebody and the call goes to India, you're having a problem with your computer, you're going to be speaking to them not in the Hindi language but in English. So for outsourcing purposes, and also if countries here in America are sending their employees to other countries, then the other countries, some of the people they're going to be working with need to learn to speak English to work with them. So it works both ways being bilingual, but because English is the most predominantly spoken language now, it is very, very important for these students to learn English. Okay. The next slide talks a little bit about what I do at APTS. I was there for 6 months, and for that 6 months I got involved in a few different things. I'm going back in September, and I'll be there for a full year, so I'll be able to kind of pick and choose a little bit more of what I want to get involved in. But when I was there, I was teaching English grammar classes, high-level academic writing classes, and high-level reading comprehension classes. We all know that if you can speak Spanish, it's one thing to be able to have a conversation in Spanish. It's another thing to write at an academic level in Spanish. So these students are having to learn to write academically. They're having to learn to read dense theological textbooks in English and comprehend. So these skills are extremely important for these students. They have to be able to not only speak English, but to write well in English, to be able to read English and comprehend well, and to be able to know the grammar. Some of these students are going back to their countries to teach English in their countries. We had a situation before I got there, that we had a student come from Korea, and he was speaking with our academic dean, just a very brief conversation, and he told her, I was an English teacher in Korea. And our academic dean said, well, that's wonderful. We need more English teachers here. Maybe you can take your classes and you can help us teach a few classes. And he was very enthusiastic and excited about that. Well, when he took the English exam, he completely failed. It was horrible. And when our academic dean had a chance to have a further conversation with him, she realized that he was conversant on a hello, how are you level, but as far as anything beyond that, he had no idea. So and that's not across the board, but in some other countries, if you have a very basic understanding of English, you're considered an expert and you can teach. What I want to do is equip these students with proper grammar, with academic reading and writing skills, so that if they want to go to their countries and teach, they can teach proper English, not just conversational, but actual proper English. So I was involved in teaching. I was also involved in tutoring individual students. I had a few students who really struggled. In Asian culture, a lot of times they don't like to ask questions in class. They're taught to accept what the teacher tells them and not question it. They're always shocked when I tell them that a couple of my professors wanted me to actually argue with them. But these students, they learn to just take what you say try to remember it and just regurgitate it. So I'm trying to teach them it's okay to ask questions. So one way that I do that is by a lot of personal one-on-one tutoring. One student that I had to meet with almost every day after class because he was too shy to ask me anything in class, but he had a lot of questions. So I do that. I also proofread papers for the seminary students. The students who are in the seminary have passed the English exam, which is a pretty tough exam. They've passed that. They are in regular academic seminary classes in which the teachers do not dumb anything down. They don't go to a lower level because these are English as second language speakers. But so a lot of times I will proofread their papers for them. And it's always just the small things like articles, prepositions, all of that they need just a little extra help with. So I do that, and then I am one of the lead editors for our APTS academic journal. This journal is very important because a lot of students in the seminary, once they get to the level where they're proficient with academic writing in English, they can write articles for our journal. And that gives them a real sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and they can also put that on their resume. Also, a lot of our students who are not quite at that level will take these journals and read them and study them and ask me questions about the articles. And so it is a very key element to our English immersion program at APTS. So it's a very important thing to have there. It's very important to have these articles edited very well so that students who are reading it get a real accurate picture of academic writing and academic English. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. These are just two pictures from a couple of my classes. The picture on the top left, as you can see, bunny ears translates into every culture, and all students like picking on their teachers. So this was after our final in one of the classes. Now, in Asian culture, you don't just run out of the classroom after your final test like we do here in America. We finished our final, and a couple of my students ran out, and I thought, well, that's odd. That's not like them to do that. And they came back in about 5 minutes later with a huge Korean feast. They had cooked all this food, and they brought it in for all of us to share and enjoy. So this is, in that picture, I have students from Korea, Cambodia, Indonesia, and Mexico, only in that top picture. In the bottom picture, this is from my high academic writing class. In that picture, I have students from the Philippines, Korea, Thailand, and Myanmar. Now, my student from Myanmar, he's the third one from the left on the back row. His name is Kai. He's one of my favorite students, hard worker, very poor English when he first came in. After my class, he took the English exam again, and he came running up to me one day in the coffee bar at APTS, and he said that his score on the writing portion of the exam had gone up by 20% from the first time he took it. So these students, when they are engaged in class, asking me questions, and really applying themselves, they're the best and the brightest. They can ace that exam, and Kai is now in the seminary, where he will get his degree and then go back to Myanmar and start schools and preach and be engaged in service acts all over Myanmar. So this is why I'm doing what I do. I love it. Why are the students there? These are just a few pictures from some of the fun things that we have, some of the fun times that we have together. I'm friends with a lot of my students. You know, many of them are older than I am. And so it's kind of an interesting dynamic, but all of my students are my friends, and we get together a lot and do things just for fun where I'm not instructing them, I'm not editing their grammar or anything like that. But the thing that's important to know about this and why I put these pictures up here is because these students are being completely immersed in English. English is the official language of APTS, and so on campus, There's an actual rule in our handbook that if you are on campus, in a public place on campus, you must speak English. So last trimester I had 2 Mexican ladies, and every time I would hear them in the cafeteria speaking English, I would have to go over and say, or speaking Spanish, I'd have to go over and say, now remember the rule is you have to speak English. Didn't make me very popular, but they have to learn English, and that's the best way to do it. But the important thing here is that these students, even when we're just having fun, okay, 2 of those pictures are from our annual international night where we celebrate all the different countries, and the other one is from a rooftop barbecue party that we had. All of these fun activities, everything that we do is completely in English. These students are being taught in English. I remember when I was learning Spanish in college, I had a safety net because if I didn't understand something, I could ask my professor in English. My Korean students can ask me in Korean, but I won't understand them. So they are learning completely in English in chapel services, which we have 3 times a week, in small group, which is every Friday, and every fun get-together, potluck, party, everything that we do is completely in English. When they go out into the town in Baguio, when they go to Manila, those people will speak English to them. It is not fun for these students. I was trying to think of how to really incorporate the service before self, and I was thinking about myself, but the more that I thought about it, the more that I realized, I'm living pretty comfortably over there. I can speak to everyone in my first language. I have a nice apartment. I have a lot of friends. I love the food. It's, for me, it's all good. For these students, they're not there because it's fun. They're not there because it's easy. These students truly are putting service above self. They're going to go back to their countries and start schools. They're going to go back to their countries and be involved in humanitarian work. Some will be pastors, some will be missionaries. A lot are working with literacy, Bible translation, with other translations also. They really want to make a difference in their countries, and that's why they've given up their comfort zone, they've given up their homelands, they've given up their first language, they're giving up parts of their culture to come to a school where they have no choice but to speak a language that a lot of them don't really speak, so that they can get the tools that they need to take back and make a difference in their countries. So they're really the heroes here. They're really the ones who are putting service above self. They're my inspiration. I tell my classes every time I get up in front of them, I tell them how much I respect and admire them. I was speaking with a friend the other day who is not a Spanish major. She has her master's degree in Spanish. And I was telling her about my 2 Mexican ladies that I had in class last trimester. And I said it was kind of funny because I am very, very basic conversation. That's all I can do in Spanish. And so I would converse with my Mexican ladies. And the first time I spoke with them, I said, now I have to warn you, everything I tell you is going to be in present tense. I said it could have happened 10 years ago, but everything I say is going to be in present tense because I can't remember how to conjugate any of these verbs. And for me, it's funny and I can laugh about it because learning Spanish is not vital for me. I'm not in the Philippines to learn Spanish. For these students, if they can't remember how to conjugate a verb in the past tense, it's a big deal. They have to figure it out. They have to work on it. They can't do what I do and say, yesterday I am happy, and then say in the past to clarify. They have to know. They have to know. I've had students come to me crying, just saying I'm so frustrated because I need to finish this homework and I can't remember how to say this word. I can't remember what verb tense, is it sing, sang, or had sung? They can't remember. And it's very frustrating for them. But they are there. They are supporting themselves. They are paying tuition and all of that. And they're there not because it's fun, not because it's easy. They're there because it's what they need to do to get the tools they need to make a difference in their cultures. So where this fits in with me is I'm going there for at least a year. I'm going through the Assemblies of God as what they call a missionary associate, which means I've been assigned for 1 year to APTS to teach English there. So I'll be there for at least a year. I'm planning on probably staying there longer than that, but to do this, I am self-supporting. I'm not paid by the school. I have to raise my own support. So as of right now, I need, my budget for the year is about $24,000. I've raised about $16,000 of that. I need another $8,000. So if anybody is interested in helping me with that, please see me afterwards. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. But I just wanted to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all. I've done just a couple short, 5-minute windows in church and coffees with friends and telling them about it. But to be able to actually share what I'm doing and tell you why it's important and why I'm so passionate about it to a large group of people has been fantastic. So thank you so much for having me.
Do you have any questions for Lindsay?
How many students are in the seminary or at the school altogether?
There are about 100 students there right now. We have a vision statement for 2014 saying we would like to see 200 students there. Yes.
2 questions. Do you have a web link to your fundraising?
I do.
Okay, could you share that with us?
I can.
Your dad can send it out.
Yeah, if your dad would send it out to us, that'd be terrific.
Yes, he can send it out because there's a link that you have to go to and then you have to type in something, so I'll have him send out the link.
Perfect.
Thank you.
The other question was, listing all the countries, I saw almost everything in Southeast Asia except China and Vietnam. Do you think the Chinese students, the Vietnamese students have trouble with getting visas because it's a theological school?
Chinese students are actually there.
Okay.
I didn't put it up there because we try not to really put it in print anywhere because it's kind of sensitive.
Yep.
We've actually talked about changing the name of the school because if they go back to China with a diploma from a theological seminary, a lot of times
So go to the bottom of the list.
frowned upon. Yes. So there are students from China there. A couple students from China, their parents don't know that they're at a seminary. Their parents just think they're in the Philippines to work or to study. So there are, as of right now, we don't have any students from Vietnam, but every trimester we get new students in, so.
Any conversation with your student from Myanmar on, is it Kim Sung that was president that was in prison for so long?
I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that. It's funny, we talked a lot about the political situation in America because when I was over there, the election was taking place. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him about that. Yes.
Okay, so 2-part question.
Okay.
One, what was it you said you wanted to be, a literary what?
Literary theorist.
Right, okay. And the second part is, what's that?
I've asked that question. What does it pay?
How much time do you have? The short answer is basically a literary theorist is somebody who studies the structures of literature and, theory why. So why is literature important? Why does it work the way it does? There are about 100 different theories of literature and why it's important, different ways to view it, and that is absolutely fascinating to me for some reason. That's what I thought I would do for a long time.
Well, I'm sure Lindsay will hang around afterwards. We're going to donate a book in English in your honor to Cone Elementary School. So and Mike, did I miss? You're good? Okay. All right. And if you would, please. You don't own any of these, do you?
I don't think so.
Or raffle. The window ticket.
087113.
113.
113.
Gunner. Don't forget the cart fund on your table and have a great day.